I'll call the Landmarks Review Board meeting to order. You have some discussion item?
Start
Straight to, all righty. I call to order the public hearing on the application of Eric Matthews on behalf of Dana and Denise Love for a Landmarks Review file of 2024-44 for exterior modifications to the promotion building at 416 Cascade Avenue. A quorum of Landmarks Board is present. I will now ask the members to disclose any pre-hearing or ex parte contacts regarding the application or absent that word, based on conflicts of interest or bias.
Abstention. Oh, that's,
There.
that's what I was thinking. It's like, what word is she trying to say? Help there. Yeah.
Libby, do you have any? No.
Any cartoon? No. I process many applications for Brad Perrin, but not now.
But I went down today and I found it. Perfect. And Arthur, do you have any on this particular one?
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we're doing first, right?
Stand right. On top of
I also know Brad, and I've certainly seen the site every day as I walk by, but nothing that I would consider a cause for
This
concern.
is the,
Could we remember to turn on our mics as well?
There are no- Okay,
what we're talking about first though is Dana.
oh, Dana Love, right, I'm sorry, yeah. So that, yeah, and because you just gave your,
I did. I said Brad
yeah,
Perrin.
you
you're
said
right.
Brad Perrin, which sent me into the other one, so
Sorry.
do you want to redo yours?
Yeah, I've done a lot of applications for
Sure.
Dana Love too. But I have no issues with that application and I have no ex parte contact.
So I participated in a previous Landmarks Review Board discussion of a request. This had to do with the food cart court. And so anything associated with that is something that is in my brain. But that I don't believe that that is what they're asking for. And this is a new request, and we'll treat it as such.
Okay, I was in on that discussion as well. Think of it.
I have none.
Righty. Would anyone present or online like to challenge any Landmark Board members' ability to hear this application? If not, let me provide an overview of this hearing and some rules of procedure. First, we will hear the city staff report, then we will hear from the applicant, then we will take testimony from the public. After we have taken testimony and asked questions, we will close the record and render a decision. Our decision is not final until it's reduced to writing. To appeal our decision, you must participate orally or in writing. Does anyone have any questions regarding the hearing process or have any procedural issues they would like to raise?
So I guess are all the materials that were submitted and reviewed concerning the character of the neighborhood that were reviewed in the what year would that be? 23, okay, so well, in the last review at the Landmarks Review Board, are any of those in the record, or are those considered?
That's being treated as a complete separate project since building permits have been issued for that. So that's currently under construction. We do briefly talk about one thing that was removed, which is the approval of a bathroom addition, that a part of this is actually removing that because it was never constructed and there's no longer an intention to do that.
Very nice.
Staff reporting.
That's what, I'm neither the applicant nor the owner, but I'm the tenant, and the applicant is my architect. Am I able to speak?
Yes.
LED lights, a new storefront window and door beneath the western facing canopy, replacement of the storefront window with a glazed overhead door on the south wall, painting of the west wall, installation of a ground level mechanical unit on the north side of the building, and outdoor seating. The proposal includes the removal of a previously permitted bathroom addition under file 2022-51 on the west elevation. Although the addition was approved, it was never constructed, and as part of this landmarks approval, it is being removed. With that said, the planning department has recommended approval with conditions as outlined in your staff.
Yes.
I have a-
Okay, Matt.
I have a question. The glazed overhead door, I assume that's like a garage door it opens?
That was my one question.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then does the,
Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
there's mention of signage in the report and like the design papers. One says LED, one says neon. Is it one or the other? And the second part, does a lighted sign count as a light?
So the reason that we didn't really evaluate that much is because signs exist kind of outside of the purview of the Landmarks Review Board and fall within kind of a separate sign permit that doesn't really apply to the historic district that way.
So that's confusing to me. I remember when we did the climbing gym, the only change we made to it was concerning their decision to put up their placement and design of sign.
I know, I'm not familiar with that project. I know when we, for example, talked about signs in relation to this for like the Wacoma Hotel, there was more conversation because there was a variance component and aspects to the sign that weren't permitted under kind of the normal sign code. And that's why that was brought up more. And it was kind of a part of a larger package. And a lot of these weren't quite dialed in yet and really wasn't within our scope.
The materials of this door that we were talking about,
Overhead door.
the overhead door, thank you. Do you have a better picture of the overhead door? That's the only concern I have about this whole application.
Yeah, the closest, when I saw that, I was thinking of the one at the old Hoover Garage building, River Days has roll-up garage
Yeah.
door on the front. Is that what we're talking about?
Right.
Metal.
Yeah, I'm looking for the page number to get you guys to. I know the applicant showed a door that they're looking to match, which was, yeah,
Yeah, but it's.
matte black and steel or steel type to roll up and then to match closely as possible to the kind of the current finish of the existing doors on the south
It will
facade.
match the finish of the existing.
Yes.
doors.
And that's included in the applicant narrative as well.
And we'll be able to ask about that when he speaks, or
Yeah.
can he speak now? Or
Yeah, that'll come after.
Oh, good. Great. We want it to live in us.
All righty. Then we'll now hear from the applicant.
Thank you. Good report. I think you have to read this RJ stuff.
Again?
Trying to go over.
I do, yes. Thank you.
Testimony.
Oh,
We'll now take public testimony. No, that's after.
So he's public test, oh, he's.
Your public testimony? Okay. All righty. For those wishing to provide testimony, please wait until you are called on and please come to the podium and your name and address. After everyone has had the opportunity to speak, the board will have an opportunity to ask questions of staff and the applicant before we close the public hearing and begin deliberations.
Thank you. I don't have much to say, but I'm here to answer any questions you guys might have about it. Our main goal with this application is to really make it look like it does now, just putting some new things that will allow us to operate better.
Yes, your name, please.
My name's Kyle Larson, one co-owner of Kings and Daughters Brewery.
Ah, okay.
So I just want to find out about the door a little bit more.
It's going to be the same color as the existing metal that's around the existing door? Is it gonna be wider, thicker? Is it just gonna be obvious that, oh, there's a big giant door there, or is it going to feel like there's glass windows, you know?
Great question. Yeah, no, we're trying to make it so that it looks like it's glass windows, and I think Mr. Babbitt said it best is my target is to, like it looks like on the River Days. I mean, that's really the same kind of plan is to
Okay.
have it match that, which is the same as the existing windows that are already on the
Right,
building.
Right.
The difference is River Days was a garage. So having a garage door there is kind of a given. So I'm wondering if Jacob could take us through the process that he went through in determining that this kind of door is allowable. What are the applicable code issues, or how did you evaluate this?
Really, the way we looked at it is while it's in the historic district, the structure itself isn't considered a historic structure. It was built relatively recently. So we were really looking at it through the lens of did it have an impact on the district? Which is why when they focused on kind of the finish and the general color of it as well, we did not find that to be a detraction from anything or what, vantage point from the right of way. And that was really as far as we evaluated on that front.
Right, totally makes sense. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
Well, I'm kind of confused on something and it's probably ridiculous, but is this,
Okay.
is this what you're aiming for from the brick? You're making it into a Bauhaus kind of,
White stucco structure?
No, that's just the rendering. We're not changing any of the brick on there. That's just the rendering. We didn't have it rendered into brick.
Yeah.
Literally.
Threw me off too.
Okay, yeah, so I think it states in there that it's the same. We're not changing any of the exterior brickwork that's on there. So that's just the likeness of it.
Oh, okay, it's like, whoa, there'll be a.
Yeah, we're not going for that either, so.
You're not moving any brick.
Nope, not at all. The only thing we're looking at painting is the west side of the building. It has some
Rainy day.
yeah, it has those murals on the side. It has the climbing and the windsurfers on it, and that something we're looking to paint over essentially.
It's a nice color.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife's really good at that type of thing. That's outside. I just come to paint, that's all. Yeah.
White color.
Yeah.
I have not ever noticed that mural. There was a mural there?
Yeah, mural, there's like five different people on there, windsurfer, climber, something else. I can't remember.
Is that behind the food courts?
Yeah, that's correct on the western side.
Okay, I'm probably just so intent on getting my food that I.
Yeah.
To what Arthur was saying, I kind of put together maybe a finding you can do is that this is about what he was talking about. It's not the original building, but the change is not going to make it stick out anymore. You're in an area that's transitioned to industrial because you have, right behind it, beginning of the industrial buildings and all of that. So you're almost like out of the downtown corridor. You're kind of on the edge, and for that reason, I felt like you met the standards.
Yeah, if I could bring in the discussion that we had last time with the food cart court. I had presented a review of the history of Cascade along that section. And it has always been a very transitional district with everything from residential to industrial to commercial uses. And so the aesthetic of all the buildings there was incredibly mixed. There was no single character to it. And I've always thought that Dana's building was a great addition to it, and this seems to be going along and servicing that original aesthetic. So it certainly seems consistent.
But consistent for that area, so you don't come in on Main Street with a big door like that, and so you're meeting it because of where you are.
Right, and that's where I wanted to understand how staff went through the analysis on the roll-up door, because I wouldn't want to see the same thing happen to a historic building on Oak Street, like the Pacific Power Building or something like that. If they say, hey, why don't we put a roll-up door here? that would be a big deal, I think, in historic review. But number one, this is not a contributing structure, so it has to be consistent, and it is consistent in that the neighboring buildings, similar treatment, and it's
Yeah.
not overpowering in its view.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So this concludes the public testimony and oral portion.
Actually, haven't asked for public testimony yet. That was the applicant.
That was the applicant.
You read
Oh.
the public testimony part.
Right, which is fine,
I
but
mentioned
the
it.
question now would be if staff has anyone online or if anyone in the room wants to speak.
Like he said.
Oh, your wife is watching?
Oh,
Okay.
good. Hi.
You can tell that you did fine.
Yeah.
This concludes the public testimony and oral portion of this hearing. I'll close the public hearing. We will now begin deliberation.
Totally provable.
Yeah.
I
think
just
so
would
too.
like to add a statement about the location of this and why that door works.
Right, yeah, just a few more words, I agree, is having some additional words explaining what the analysis is so that someone doesn't come along and do what I was just saying.
Specifically for the garage door and mention the transitionary aspect of where it is.
But also the fact that it's not a contributing structure.
Yes,
And that the neighborhood on Cascade is different than the neighborhood on Oak.
Right. Surrounding, it blends with the surrounding structures and height and scale. It doesn't stick out, and there's an industrial complex right behind it.
I guess what concerns me is we don't have anything in the record that shows our analysis of how this neighborhood is different from the other neighborhood. And I would be happier if at least there was statements to that effect in the findings.
Thank you. That was my only.
And, you know, you could also, I don't know if you're allowed to pull the entire discussion from the previous package, but
I'm happy to touch base with Dustin on that.
yeah. Just because there were a whole bunch of illustrations of it explaining, showing the sandbar map, showing what the different uses were along that block. They're really a fascinating, I mean, it's a great part of Hood River.
It
And,
is.
and it's a fascinating history down there, and I think it's great that people are
Yeah.
doing some good and interesting things with it. And I think, you know, your uses, you know, 100 years ago would have been.
When do you plan on opening? Okay. Well, congratulations.
We'll have to all go there.
Yeah, we'll have to
So-
come.
I would make a motion.
Yes, please.
Uh,
Yeah.
Do we have the simple motion or is recommended motion? I would move that we approve file number 2024-44 to allow for exterior modifications to the promotion building as described in the staff report, including the findings and recommended conditions of approval in the staff report, as well as some additional language concerning the character of the neighborhood and the reason for approval of the roll-up door as discussed. Is roll-up door, is that the?
We've been calling it a garage door, but
Right, as discussed.
May I have a second?
Second.
Motion. Shall we vote? Everybody in favor?
Yes, if there's any
Yeah.
discussion.
Any discussion before we vote? Right. Those in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion passed.
You vote also?
I did.
Oh, okay. Just keep me honest there.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Ask if your wife does any consults on house painting colors.
Thank you.
Ready to go with the second item? I call to order the public hearing on application by Bradford Perrin. or- That, is it Perrin? Perone? Okay, thank you. For a landmarks review of file 2025-05 for exterior modifications to the First National Bank building at 304 Oak Street. Does anyone joining us need a hearing process review? Do any board members have any or ex parte contacts regarding the application or abstentions based on conflicts of interest or bias?
I have, I really know Brad, and I've been by the site pretty much every day of the year. But nothing that would impact upon the ability to hear this.
Kind of same here. I processed a lot of applications for Brad, but I don't have any conflicts.
No conflicts.
All righty. Would anybody like to challenge any landmarks board members' ability to hear this application?
Okay, this is another pretty simple one. This is file 2025-05, and the request includes modifying the existing stainless steel ATM pop-out on the western side of the building with brick, adding a new door and transom window to occupy the space where the ATM was placed, installation of an awning over the pop-out to match the existing ones on the western facade, and the addition of a plaza lamp in the northeast section of the western courtyard, along with a non-building attached water feature in the courtyard as well. As you could see in the staff report, staff has recommended some general conditions of approval with this, but we recommend approval as proposed.
And so could you tell us, I'm going to play the page,
Mhm.
mine is click down and get it to scroll fast enough. What page are we on?
What are you looking for?
The beginning of this in our packet.
Okay, let me get there. I have them opened independently, so let me just double check.
Yes, I have it. That's one document. Here at home, it's easy, and it's not here.
Yeah, I have this.
Give me 1 second as I open this up.
Garage doors here. Oh, it's separate. Separate file.
So we will be starting on page 41 for this.
Would be, I was confused about the water feature, because there already is a water feature. So-
There is, yeah, in the center of the courtyard.
So what is this?
This is, it'll show on the site plan included. It's right up against the wall on the north west side of the building, very close to where the proposed light fixture is as well. It's against the wall, not attached to the structure itself.
Where's the existing one? It's right there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's right here, it belongs to the coffee shop.
Okay, oh, so that's not,
It's not yours.
The locations of both are shown on page 5. And then if you guys also want, I can look at the attachments and get a bigger picture open. There's also a blow up on page 7 that shows the actual water feature intended to be installed.
and can you explain how you review that? Like, what are the reviewable elements of that?
Really, our biggest 2 pieces were modification of the historic structure, since it's not attached. That wasn't really an issue. And then also it's so far recessed from the public right of way in a non-historic courtyard. That building used to share a wall with the structure that's no longer there. So there's really not a modification to anything that's historic beyond being in the district again, kind of like our conversation in the previous hearing. And that was really how we looked at it. Just muted colors, doesn't take away from the feeling of the district from public right of way, and not impacting a historic courtyard nor attaching to the historic building.
So the last time we reviewed this building, was when Brad put in the apartments upstairs, and there was a neighbor who was angry about the wall penetrations that were going to disturb her morning nude sunbathing or something. As I recall, the discussion back then was that this facade did not exist because there was a theater there. And therefore, that colors the review of this, right? That this is, that really any changes on this facade are reviewed through the lens of it not being a historic facade.
That's true. And it's not listed in the federal documents as having any important features that make the building.
And so like the replacement of the ATM with a window, I know when the 301 Oak, the Butler Bank building did that, that had to go through elaborate review and the materials were reviewed and all of that. And so are you saying that that's why this does not have nearly the same sort of review level?
That was our approach. That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. Non-historic features in a non-historic.
So he's not being obligated to use the same.
Well, there's still components that we mentioned in the staff report on how it needs to be compatible with the district, and it's certainly attached to the structure itself, but kind of given the nature of it existing as it does now with stainless steel and concrete, it's really making it something that offers a better transition from that primary southern facade to the non-historic courtyard and all that, and just blends more.
So does it still have the same requirements, though, of not being, like, for example, you can't use vinyl
Yes,
windows, so it has to be wood frame.
all that's still applicable. Yeah.
But it doesn't have the same requirement that the Butler Bank had of the molding and trim matching the other molding and trim of the building. Is that,
I think he asked for it.
was that?
Didn't you ask for it?
There,
To not paint.
correct.
Yeah.
Just to match the structure itself. It's not like a district-wide criteria, and where that finding came from. It was more just to make sure that there was consistency on that facade.
General question for folks that know more than I do. Is there any view, like there's with the added unattached decorative elements like light lamppost and the water fountain, is there like a tipping point where it detracts from the actual building? Like there's too many decorative elements not related to the building or the historic district per se?
That's a great question. I was that's kind of what I was poking at a little bit when I was asking questions about the fountain itself and trying to understand what is it that we're reviewing about that. And so, yeah, so your question is, what is our responsibility to that courtyard in this review? Is that fair?
Yeah, is it 2 elements are okay? If there were 10 different water statues, would it make
Right, if it became a sculpture garden, would that be something we would review differently than having a single sculpture and a single water feature, or a water park?
Isn't it a hidden courtyard anyway?
What's that?
Isn't it a hidden courtyard anyway?
It's not hidden. I mean, you can see it from the street. It's just, but it's not historic, right? Because there was a theater there, and the theater was removed, creating that open space. And they've done a nice job of,
In a brand new building next door.
yeah, and they've done a nice job of integrating that with a nice
Yeah.
brick public space. So, you know, by all, I'm sure pretty much everyone in town sees that as an addition to the community. But it's definitely a reasonable question as to what our jurisdiction is over that. And what is city jurisdiction overall? I mean, what's the landmarks consideration?
Yeah,
Just to give you a little bit, we're getting graffiti, I mean, sorry, we're moving to them.
Okay.
okay, what,
Yeah, it's actually, let me just explain, Bryce, you understand. I'm not asking this question for this application. I think it's important that we understand the limitations of what we review. And I don't think any of us are questioning this, so. You know, I'm not sure that you need to be worried about this. We're asking more prospective questions about what happens with the next review of another thing. We're sort of filling it out to understand what we're doing.
Right,
Yeah.
and I think that's
Yeah,
important too,
yeah.
to get up, Red.
Yeah.
Because I know what's happening back
Yeah.
there.
we'll do it in order.
Yeah. But so in terms of what our limitations of our review are, you know, the Secretary of State Secretary of Interior guidelines. I don't know how much of, I don't know how you review a courtyard like this, non-historic courtyard in an historic district with non-historic additions that are not attached to the structure that's being reviewed. It's kind of it's an interesting corner case, and maybe this isn't the place to look at it. I guess the question is going to be whether we all agree that whatever the border is, this doesn't cross it. But understanding where the border is for future discussion. maybe.
Certainly, yeah. And right now it really just comes down to, is it detracting from the district? That's kind of the component for at least this siloed piece that we're talking about, which is the water feature in that.
If I understood you correctly, you also said this is non-historic, this,
Yeah, nothing in it.
That's correct. Yeah.
But it's in-
While in the historic district, not a historic courtyard itself.
The only thing I find, from a historic point of view, the thing I find most interesting about it is to see how they actually fit an entire theater. And if you look at the interior pictures of the theater's 5 times the size of the courtyard. So how did they fit the courtyard?
Well, because it's a brand new construction next door too.
No, but I know where the border was.
yeah.
And what you see is, when you look at pictures of the theater was not, the theater looks enormous, but that's because of the trick of photography. It was not a big theater. And that's what you learn by this courtyard, but
Interesting.
But it was larger than the courtyard.
the theater, no, not much. No, but it only went as far as the, Doppio.
Yeah.
No.
It did.
Oh, no, but I'm saying it went to, the border of Henry's building. So if you go through Doppio, I think the edge of the building would have been right in the middle of their lunch counter there, or their bakery sections.
Outside one. The outside.
The
seating.
inside.
Inside,
theater.
inside, yeah. Yep. Anyway,
Do we have any more questions?
Is the light fixture historic in Hood River terms? Looks like it's from
1910 or.
We found it compatible. Yeah.
and it's not directly on the street, right?
No, it's recessed. It's quite a ways off the right of way, close to where the water feature is.
Yeah, because I wouldn't have a problem with that if it were at the street, because we have the historic.
Yeah.
Fixtures, clearly it doesn't match there, but if they're creating their own little environment in the courtyard, that's their problem.
nice one. I like it.
Any questions? All righty. Thank you. We'll now hear from the applicant.
You gotta press green, Brad.
You gotta identify yourself.
Oh, Bradford Perone, owner of the First National Bank Building, Heilbronner Building, Thistledown on Oak Hotel. And we've been having a lot of trouble with graffiti, so forth, people coming in the back and that, so forth. Having the back of the plaza just blank. And now that we've opened the 19th century themed boutique hotel on the top floor, I wanted to have a little outdoor space that was able to, 1, be used by Hood River Distillers, and 2, be used by the hotel guests. So if they're grabbing something, Doppio's or something, they can go over and sit in their own little private area type of thing. So we'll have hedges, all of that will move, so it's just like the tables and chairs and so forth. But the permanent fixtures is the fountain and the lamppost there, just to give it kind of an end, because I have access into my Heilbronner behind it. So I just kind of wanted to make a really nice little area there. As far as the ATM, I mean, it's the ugliest thing. I can't believe I let that thing go through back in 2005, 2006. But when they withdrew their ATM, then it was like, what do I want to do there? And so actually my daughter wants to open a little, I don't know the word for it. I can't say it correctly. Charcuterie board? Charcuterie boards, yes. So she wants to have a little retail shop there. It's super tiny. I want to cover the existing concrete with some brick that kind of ties in, and then have, more of a wood type entrance on the front. And then she'll have a couple removable tables and chairs on each side of that space. So there's enough to put a little sink and stuff in there, so it'll be real nice.
Figured it had to be pretty small.
Yeah, it's small.
Small retail space.
It's small, but I wanted to do something rather than just leaving it vacant there, so.
Did that used to be?
It was up further. The drive-through is up about 20 feet further. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting history in that whole area.
Yeah. Right, so who would have thought? I
It was
never thought that.
incredibly ugly. The 1960s. Every picture you see of the town downtown is like.
Yeah.
People making this, that this big of America.
It went from First National, First Interstate, and then to Wells Fargo.
Just the pictures I've seen of the drive. It's like really just tacked on, horribly constructed.
I've never seen a picture of that. I'm really beginning.
I'll get you one.
Any other questions?
How's the hotel going? Can I ask you that?
Oh, it's going great. We're just getting awesome reviews. I don't know if you go in and read the reviews. They just love the hotel. They love downtown. We just need to get more, people knowing about us and that kind of stuff, but it's kind of.
up today.
Hey, good.
I should pass it around, you guys.
No, we should do that while we're
Oh.
doing it. Exactly, what I want to ask you is, you gave us a reference to the hotel website, which I looked at, but there was nothing there that was relevant to this hearing.
No,
So
it was just there to kind of express what we're trying to do out in that courtyard. And the reason that fountain is there is just to give it a presence, to kind of just tie it in and make it feel as what we're trying to do up in the upper part of the building.
Great, thank you.
I found that very interesting.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Is there any public testimony?
Looks like we're good.
Are there any questions from the board or from the staff now? Go.
Well, I just have another question. I've only been here for 3 years, but is it kind of a secret, elegant hotel up there that nobody really knows about?
Yeah.
But the right people know, so you're booked?
No, we're trying to get more people to know. It's just, it's been a tough process. I thought, as soon as we get our website up, which took me like 4 months to build, and once we get that up, we're gonna knock it dead,
Well,
but,
it's fabulous.
people gotta find us.
It's like the biggest secret going.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun, because that's kind of the mystique of it now, we didn't realize that, so people that are coming in for weddings, they rented the penthouse, this last summer. And the lady that rented the penthouse was showing the bride, going through the rooms and showing her, and she's like, oh, you gotta be kidding, why haven't I got there? So it's gonna be popular for the weddings that come into the area and so forth.
But you don't do marketing or advertising or anything?
Well, I've got a marketing guy on there, they've done a couple of TikToks.
Yeah, right, for sure.
We had an influencer there that I think we're up to like 700,000 reviews type of thing, so we've had an influencer there that's done a TikTok. I have those rack cards at Maloma Falls, Portland Airport in downtown Portland.
Oh, wow, the airport.
And so we're trying to get as much as we can, but we're also trying to keep the manager and the housekeeper on. And it's slow like
Oh, I
this.
think it's fab. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, how do you know that's right? Yeah.
All right, this concludes the public testimony and oral argument portion of this hearing. We will now close the public hearing in deliberations. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's just I think it is very straightforward. It's just, again, support second staff did a good job in identifying what are the historic elements that we have review over and what is not historic. And there are some funny lines there, and I think, again, it would be nice in the future if we had some discussion over the question that Will brought up of what's too much. Or where would things cross the line that something would become reviewable? And I guess the question is, when is there enough that it starts to have an overflow impact on the surrounding area? I don't have any trouble myself saying that what Brad is proposing here does not have an effect on the surrounding area, which is the conclusion that you drew in the draft findings. I'm sort of wondering what people think where the line would be, what it might. Well, you don't, what do you think would be too much? Do you think this is too much?
No.
Okay. So this is one of the, you know, when you see it? Okay, this is the pornography, and when I see it, the Supreme Court ruling. Famous case. Obscenity. Anyway.
Put that into that.
What's that?
Put that into that.
This is the case from 1970s. There's no definition of insanity, but I know when I see it.
Anybody got one of those?
Someone else make the same motion. Let's make motions, Chair. It would be nice because this is your last. This is your last. One of us can take over as chair, then you can make a motion. Oh, I mean, it's the last meeting, you know. This is your last. Unless somebody else, we don't care. Okay.
All right. It's right there in the bottom.
Recommended motion, move to approve file number 2025-05 to allow for the exterior modifications to the First National Bank building as described in the staff report, including the findings and recommended conditions of approval in the staff report.
Second.
Yeah.
Motion is, no, any further discussion? That was wonderful. All right, all those in favor? Those opposed? Motion passed.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye, Grant. Yeah, so this is your. Meeting. In your.
So I have a question.
10 years.
So I understand that staff is working on something related to having the landmarks review board before the city council to discuss the nature of our presence and our authority and our benefits of having a landmarks review board, et cetera. I requested this through Doug Spina, and he said that he's spoken to the mayor and to the city manager that they're planning to put something on the schedule. And so, first of all, are you aware of this?
I have not heard about any of this.
Is it to validate ourselves?
It's to explain why we exist, because I am of the opinion that the city council does not really understand or appreciate what our role is.
Okay.
And there are, I think, numerous examples of that, so, but I wanted to request was that, if this does get scheduled, which it sounds like the mayor is working to schedule with the city manager, I would like to ask if this group is comfortable with Cindy and myself giving the history of this to the city council.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, do the runs. No.
And sorry, I don't know if I said it means to take you unaware.
No, not at all. I have some learning to do.
Well, I don't, maybe, yeah. I'm told it's gonna happen, but I don't know if it's gonna happen or if it's been scheduled or what.
So talk about ourselves, really informally. Talk about ourselves.
Well, I mean, no, I think talking about the history, because I think that
Why
one of
we
the reasons
started.
why this was created, the fight that happened in the 1990s over the creation of the Landmarks Review Board, the principles that are behind having the Landmarks Review Board.
Yeah.
And then I think the big thing is when you look at the way that the way that we're used right now, the statutory authority to review modifications to buildings in the landmark district is something that we do. That's all we do.
Okay.
And I believe that there's broader language in the ordinance, in the city code. And I'd like to have a discussion with the city council about about us being used more to help the city promote and maintain the character of the downtown district, which is, there's plenty of language about that in the code, but
That's,
we never do anything
and
about
for examples, I don't know if you do PowerPoint or slides or whatever, but you should have examples of, you know, a Coma building is my first one, because I just moved here, but you probably should have 5 or 6 examples. You
Well, we
know,
have lots of examples in the files.
or more than that, I mean, just bombard them with all the successes that you know, how things have turned out because of this or that, or this window thing or that. They might be about this small detail, but yet it would have affected the whole integrity of the structure if it weren't for all this little, so have you noticed, have you noticed that? Walk by this, look at that. That's what we should do rather than a lot of bureaucratic stuff, in my opinion.
I totally agree, and it's kind of what I'm
I think,
trying to pick.
I think what you were trying to say, and I don't wanna speak for you,
Well,
is that.
we talked about this over coffee just before coming down, so.
Okay, but you know, way more,
Well, and I think you all should know more, and maybe our homework should be is to go home and read the landmarks part of the zoning ordinance.
Right.
So you see what our what do you call it, our charges.
What are charges and what and then also, but there is, but then you can fill people in on the history of the fights and.
they know the chart, you know, they know what all.
No, I think that sometimes this ordinance gets buried a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
I can list multiple things that have happened in the last 5 years that I believe should have been at least discussed with landmarks review, or have not.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but then showing the betterment of downtown because of all the feet that we, not me yet, but you have done, I mean,
Yeah, you're referring to review of specific property
absolutely, because
changes.
people are more, you know. Their mind sees something that. Yeah,
We can do it. I
make
make
it visual rather than
every application.
just talking to them.
We've got 20+ years of applications in our brains. I'm not worried about that. What I'm talking about adding to that is an understanding that there is this concept of the district, which is broader than simply the individual properties in the district. And there's an understanding of what role the Landmarks Review Board has in assisting the city in developing and enhancing the character of that district, which is more than.
They're challenging that you've been doing that, so you've got to prove, remember this building, look at it now, remember this structure, remember this
Or they might just say we were unaware that you had so much more to do too.
You have to tell them,
Like, yeah.
And I'd like to do Libby's one just a little bit. I went on downtown tours with her in Portland. Excellent job. Yeah.
Did you?
I did a lot of them. I did a lot of them, and she did an excellent job, and I had a greater appreciation
Oh,
for Portland as a result of you taking us out early in those mornings. I'm a very visual person, so
That's what I'm hearing.
yeah, that's.
Yeah.
That's to me.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you. Well, anyway, just go for it.
I simply wanted us to have this discussion so that if we get invited before our next
So you
meeting, which could, we don't have another meeting scheduled forever, right?
No, nothing else is scheduled.
Yes, we
And,
may have a meeting again before this happens, if this happens.
This may be a dumb thing to say, but is Doug Stabina on the city council?
It is,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good thing.
Good thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No. You know, I had a discussion with him, actually, on my concerns were, and he thought it was appropriate that the city council have a
Okay.
presentation on this, and he requested it.
Oh,
The
good.
mayor is working
We
with
should-
the city manager to make
Oh,
this.
Please give us a date, and we should.
That's what I'm waiting for.
Sit here.
And it's Jacob doesn't know about it, so he can't tell us anything more.
We gotta talk to Justin.
I can certainly look into it though and get back to you guys.
Yeah.
Is there any further business coming for us?
No, but thank you for your service.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes.
Well, there was one meeting maybe I didn't enjoy so much. Anyway, thank you very much for this meeting.
Yay, it's happy.